Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's ILTA recorded YouTube session entitled Share Your Stack. This is going to be a 30-minute session, and I have some wonderful experts with me today. I'm Rachel Bailey. I'm the product marketing manager at Opus 2, and I'm going to be the moderator. So let's start with introductions. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by three extremely knowledgeable speakers. Daniel Wood, Director of Counsel Assistance at Womble Bond Dickinson, Melissa Weberman, Counsel at Arnold & Porter, and Sarah Miro, Managing Attorney Director of Knowledge Management Solutions at Sullivan & Cromwell. So we'll get started. We'll do a two-part. You can introduce yourselves and your firm, and then also our first question today is, could you discuss your firm's approach as it relates to building a strong tech stack for litigation? We'll start with you, Sarah.
Sure. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for having me. So I'm Sarah Miro, and I am the Managing Attorney and Director of Knowledge Solutions at Sullivan & Cromwell, based in New York. I was a practicing attorney actually at Sullivan & Cromwell for a number of years before transitioning into knowledge management and innovation. And I've been in the industry now for almost 9 years. And so our approach to building a strong tech stack really starts from inception of a matter. When a matter comes in and it's coded for litigation, it's really all hands on deck at that point to think about what the right solutions might be for the longevity of the matter, understanding that things are going to change as we go through the phase. And so really, it starts from having a strong understanding of the sub-industry that the matter relates to. So if it's a civil litigation versus a regulatory matter, and what the posture of the case might be, what stage of the matter that we get the case at. And so, has there already been substantial briefing and we're getting the case later on, or is this an appellate matter? Or is it a case, maybe an investigation that has already gone through substantial discovery and we're inheriting some technology from a previous firm or some other specific instance. So, but really thinking about, how can we position the matter team to have the right technology at their fingertips as soon as they need it. And that can vary. And so what we try to do is obviously vet very good solutions that we can use from discovery to research, drafting, and even our document management system, so that people on the case team can have, and not just attorneys, but really anyone supporting that matter team can have seamless access to all of the technology and all of the resources that they need throughout the matter. And that's really, we really think about being able to pivot also. If a technology is not working for a specific team, how can we offer them a comparable solution so that we can alleviate any pain points that they might be having on their journey? So it's really a team effort all the way from the start of the matter, and then, can change throughout the matter. But, really important to have individuals like myself and my team. We're constantly evaluating new technologies to try to see what can be a good fit for our team members.
Thanks. Melissa, we'll go ahead with you.
So, hi everyone. It's really good to be here. So I'm Melissa Weberman. I'm counsel at Arnold & Porter. I'm also head of the firm's eDiscovery and data analytics group. We call it eData. I'll talk about our approach to tech stack from the documents point of view, since that's where I specialize. When I think about the life cycle of document discovery and a document, I like to think about it as I would approach it as a litigator. And that is really thinking about how we can have our tech support the life cycle all the way through the EDRM model, right? So we start out broad, and we start out needing some good project management tools to help track all of the big picture decisions that we're making early on. And as we move through the life cycle of the document, going through, say, document review, we need a strong eDiscovery platform. We then narrow into the documents that are important. We need to have a good fact management tool that will then proceed into presentation for, say, motion practice, trial, investigations. So what I like to think about is how do we support that whole life cycle and how do we do it as seamlessly as possible?
That makes sense. Daniel, go ahead.
Thanks, Rachel. My name is Daniel Wood. I am the Director of Counsel Assistance at Womble Bond Dickinson, based in North Carolina. I actually am part of a practice group that is dedicated to case management. And so our focus typically, and it sort of mirrors what Sarah said, is we typically will look at a matter, and typically we're getting a portfolio from a client. And so we want to know what their litigation is all about, so therefore we can pick the best tools. And part of my job, besides the day-to-day sort of maintenance of the information and the systems that we maintain, is to know what else is in the marketplace. And so we typically tend, that's how I originally got started with ILTACon, was going to see what else I didn't know about in the marketplace, so that when the next client came or the next big matter came, we knew the options for tools, not just ones we were using, but those that might be more relevant. And so that's a big part of my focus, is constantly learning about new tools, new products, and just being able to apply those when new clients come on the horizon, or frankly, ones that we have had for years, but who maybe their litigation is evolving and they have some different types of matters, and we need to find tools that are specific to where they currently find themselves.
Makes sense. Next, could you describe some of the major pieces of software you use during the various stages of the litigation lifecycle? So this is the Share Your Stack section. And we will start with you, Daniel.
Well, we break ours down into 3 or 4, again, depending on the client, basic components. We have case management platforms where we try to put all of the matter information. So we have a centralized calendaring system, a centralized document system, a centralized case matter, plaintiff matter system, so that our firms, the firms who use us, who also represent our clients, can come to a single place. So we've had the idea of platformization has been discussed a lot in the last few years. We've had that idea for a really long time, and we try very hard to put everything that we can into one place, but typically focusing on document intake, so folks can find the documents that they need, the pleadings, the correspondence, the transcripts, the exhibits. We also have that central calendaring tool that we can then make available, a universal calendar, so that anybody representing a client can look across the litigation landscape and see what's going on. And then the case and fact building. And so it's a combination of the ability to track cases so that we can provide statistics to the SEC or to shareholders when that has to be done, or building the fact story for those cases when they do go to trial. And so that's where we bring in tools like transcript annotation and deposition designation software, which I know, Rachel, you know about. And so that's really what we're trying to do, is to compartmentalize, but also platform, put in a platform as many things as we can that meet each step in the life cycle of the case.
That makes sense. And Sarah, we'll go to you next.
Sorry, I was muted there. Yeah, so, you know, a lot of things go into, obviously, the stages of a litigation can vary. I mean, typically you can expect what phase will come next. But I think, like Daniel was saying, having a strong case management team or project manager that can really track the case and suggest new technology to the case team as soon as it's necessary is great. And, you know, of course, when a new matter comes in, our attorneys have access whenever they need to our document management system and different research platforms. But when discovery starts, and typically you'll start, you know, with written discovery, a lot of times the case team might not be thinking about, okay, once we actually start getting documents and collecting, we need to have X and Y system in place and up and running. And so being able to have maybe a project manager or paralegal on the case, be able to say, you know, we're at that stage now in the matter where discovery is imminent, or we're going to start planning. Let's take a look at what's available to see if it suits the needs of what's going to come in. Let's think about and take a step back and think about what type of data are we going to collect from the client. What type are we going to receive? What systems are going to be the best so that we can engage with that data going forward? Really having those conversations early on is so important. And so while the tech stack is super important, I think the people and having those conversations openly with the matter team early on and with the client as well can be helpful, because there are times where you will engage in some back and forth with the other side, and there may be some disagreement as to technology or the way that you're using the technology on certain matters. And so to get at least your own team aligned with what the needs are early on can be really helpful. So definitely, I agree. Now we're in an age where, I don't want to date myself too much, but we're in an age where everything goes through electronic discovery for the most part. You might have very small samples of manual hard copy review, but for the most part, everything is going to go through an eDiscovery platform. And depending on the client relationship, the client may have a relationship already with a hosting provider where their data is stored. But getting the matter team trained up in whatever that review platform will be is so important, so that when you finally get to that set of really crucial, important, hot docs, you can take them and put them into a specific case management tool, so that the team can have essentially an electronic war room to start housing all of their material. And so we use a solution called Opus 2 to house all of our hot docs, our pleadings of interest, any type of sort of subpoena that might come in that the case team might want to store there, so that the case team can work together collaboratively and digitally to review all of the relevant information in a matter. And the nice thing about the system is that you can put in whatever you want. You can put in case research if you wanted to do that, but you can also put in your transcripts eventually when you're after you've taken depositions. You can add the video in there, and you can have really a one source of truth, one place where all of your facts and evidence and pleadings of the matter exist, which is a really nice feature for our case. And especially, if we think a few years ago when everyone was forced to work in different places due to the pandemic, it was really great to have a system where everyone knew they can go on and collaborate and see what their team members were working on and share things seamlessly. And so, even now where you have teams working in different locations and different time zones and clients that are located elsewhere, it's a really great way to be able to share the whole case file, subsets of the case file. And so that is a really great solution. And having it integrate seamlessly with our other technology really helps as well. So, but having those conversations early on is always what I say is the most important thing. You could have the greatest technology in the world available, but if nobody knows about it because you haven't had that conversation at the right time, it's really useless.
And I'll just jump in at the end here and say that, we use a lot of sort of the centralizing of information that Daniel mentioned, but I'll actually speak more to something that happens early on that I think is sort of interesting. So I specialize in eDiscovery. Very often we've got, huge volumes of documents, really complex data is coming from different places, and it can be difficult to track everything that's happening. I've become really sort of obsessed with documenting the most important decisions and the most important events in every case, so that you have some sort of historical record of what happened. With all these decisions with eDiscovery, it is very easy to, a year or two later, say to yourself, like, why did we collect that data source, and why did we use that weirdly named tag in our document coding? And so we've developed an in-house tool that's really a sort of a ticketing system, and it allows our eDiscovery project managers to organize those important events, those important decisions, all in one place with this ticketing system. So when data comes in, we record it in the system. When it's processed, we record it in the system. When there are requests for production, that gets recorded. This allows us to take a lot of communication out of email and put it into the ticketing system. I'm also obsessed with trying to limit email as much as I can. I'm a huge offender of overusing email. I mean, but it is not a great way to manage cases. It's really easy to lose track of things. So, using this ticketing system, or there are other tools, and we may have a chance to talk about them later, where you can really collaborate through the tool and have that, to Sarah's point, sort of that single source, that one place where everybody can come for up-to-date information, as opposed to mining your email for the answer, which is incredibly inefficient. And somehow I find searching email has gotten worse over time. So I love our ticketing system, and I love any way we can to minimize email.
That makes sense. That's exciting. So we talked big picture, major pieces of software. Is there any other types of software that you want to mention, particularly targeted use cases or specific things that kind of do a point solution, if you will? And let's see, Melissa, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, so I'll just pivot on the theme of reduction of email. We do use a system that sort of integrates a lot of the various case management that we're all doing every day. It integrates task lists, calendaring, it syncs with Outlook. It can be a place that actually third parties can come in order to collaborate. It's a place that can track high-level information. Perhaps you need to share information with some third-party experts, co-counsel, the client. You can collaborate on documents through it in real time. Multiple people can work on a document at the same time. So you're minimizing lots of the version control issues that we all run into when we're emailing documents back and forth. So yeah, this tool that I'm describing, it really is meant to sort of be an umbrella that sits on top of a lot of the other tech. And the dream is that it sort of syncs with all the other tech. Some places that happens, and some places it's a bit more manual. But the idea is, this is the place that has all the information. It's customized to the individual. So if you're an associate on the case, you'll have a different view than the partner, who will have a different view than the client, let's say. But the idea is that it syncs with what you individually are doing, and you have that place to come to in order to see the most up-to-date information, minimizing email.
I love it. Daniel, tell us about your other solutions.
I'll piggyback on what Melissa said. Ours is very similar, and I love the idea of the umbrella platform because so many things need to live under it. For us, there are some other areas that we're looking at investigating that, again, we're trying to make work with the platform. Some automated ways to summarize depositions, for example, is one. Automated intake of documents, because since we're creating a document management system for a client, as opposed to the DM within the law firm, we want to be able to automate that as much as possible. And so those are some other tools, and there's some of the platforms work really well with being able to extract data that when you push a document in, put it in the right file so that when I go to the John Smith case, I know that all the pleadings are going to be there. So that's really what we focus on. But I really like Melissa's idea of the ticketing system. I think that's ingenious for keeping up with, because I can't remember from one month to the next why I decided to do something with a particular document set. So I'm going to take that from this session and go with it.
Good.
And Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I love what Daniel and Melissa both said. I think I'm going to take that back too and think about ways that we can incorporate some of that. I think the ideal dream state really is one view into a matter from start to finish. It's, challenging. I think we've gotten closer to that ideal state in recent years, but I'm going to actually talk about something that really is at the start of a matter, before it's even a matter, but tracking our clients, and tracking when they're being sued, where they're being sued for, for why they're in the news, but all of the sort of automated tickers that we have going for different alerts for our clients. And so, when there's a complaint filed against them or when there's some negative news, all of those alerts really start even before there's an engagement, and so important so that you can know your existing clients, and know what's happening in their world too, but also obviously for business development purposes, just being able to know when there's been a lawsuit that we can then try to help the clients and support them with our tech stack. And then I'll just give a shout out to the document management system. I think it's so important to have a strong document management system and have everything stored in one place for the Matter team to be able to access. And I think now most of the document management systems that a lot of the firms use, I think really have nice functionality, and there's even some method of collaboration within many of them. And I think they're just improving as they go on and really listening to the end user and how we like to work. But we've taken within our document management system and the automatic tickers that and alerts that I was just mentioning, we've actually combined those so that we have alerts set for any time there's a filing in a case that we're involved in. We have that filing go automatically from the court system into our document management system and flow into two places, actually. First, into the client matter folder for that matter team, but then also into our precedent collection. The documents are filed publicly, and so there's no issue for everyone at the firm to see the document that's filed. And so we have that running into our precedent system, and it actually comes with all of the metadata associated with the court and the judge and the client. And so it's a really great resource, just so that you have, again, just really that one source of truth. We've tried over the years to collect documents directly, file documents, court documents directly from the Matter team. It's really difficult to get the final version of any of those. So we figured, hey, we'll go right to the source, and anything filed at the court. And we were able, to work with some vendors so that we can get all of those documents directly into our document management system. And it's been really useful for KM purposes, but also just for Matter team organization.
That makes sense. We've got two more questions, so we'll go a little bit quicker on these ones. First, where do you see gaps? And one of the things that we brought up in the prep call here was legal research workflows. Doing legal research is a little bit siloed. And so Melissa, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, so legal research is, I think, something of an outlier, at least for us. And that umbrella that I was talking about, I think doesn't play as nicely with legal research, or at least manually, you can probably do some work in order to get everything into one place. But what I was describing before is the dream is that there are no gaps, right? The dream is that everything sort of in the tech stack flows one from the next. And we work with some great vendors who have worked with us in order to create APIs and connectors between the tools so that there is that automated connection. I'm not aware of anything that does that with legal research, and perhaps it isn't as necessary. In my world, I'm thinking about documents, and legal research, is something that is happening on the side. So maybe that isn't as necessary, although I'm sure there are smart people out there who are thinking about how we can better integrate legal research with all the other work that we're doing. But yeah, I do think that there's a bit of a gap there. And what I've just come up with is, well, at least do your best to identify the legal research that you need and eventually put it into that umbrella so that everyone has the benefit of it all in one place.
That makes sense. And Sarah, we'll ask you now. Where do you see gap?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, I do think I agree with Melissa that there is sort of a gap into how legal research plays into, review. And maybe we're getting to a point now with all the new technology coming to be that, that gap will shrink and there will be more connectors and more ways to sort of run systems, but automatically so that you can combine your research with the facts. I think that is a big open gap. But I also think that even for the technology that we currently have, that's pretty seamless and that allows Matter teams to work together and to collaborate, usage is not always at a level that it should be. And so the gap may not be as much as connecting technology, and maybe that would help, but I think more getting the word out and getting people to adopt the technology and really utilize it as Matter teams, across the board. And I think it will take time. I think, APIs a few years back weren't really a thing, and now every vendor offers an API to connect to any other, and everyone's sort of willing to work together. So I think it takes some time to get people to adapt to new ways of working with technology in their workflow. But and I also think that some of the vendors where they wouldn't have been so willing to work together are now more willing to work together because they recognize that the desired state really is to have one view, or one browser view that people can go to find all of their needs. And so I hope that any vendor sort of listening here just continues to be open with sharing their API work and connecting their resources for the litigation workflow, because that really is the ideal state, is just having a seamless jump, like Melissa was saying, from one phase of the matter to the next. And having that be constant sort of throughout, so that we can train our attorneys to know this is the workflow that you should use with the tech stack that you should use to support it.
Makes sense. And Daniel.
Hard to add to those two answers. Those are two really good ones. I think for us, it is understanding and getting our users to understand that we do have all this massive amount of KM information in a centralized place. Please don't go reinvent the wheel before you go and look and see what's available, because it's constantly growing. And as a centralized repository, that's really where we're headed. We don't want our clients to have to pay for something twice, because they've already paid for it in one place. It's right there, and we just need to make it available to everybody. So that to me is a big gap that potentially exists.
Gotcha. We'll start with you on the last question. We can't get out of here without talking about AI. So tell us about how your firms are evaluating AI features or software.
Well, we tend to break it down into the functions that we have, and then we look at the tools that go along with those functions. So we think about document intake, we think about categorization, calendaring, case management, and reporting. And so I kind of break it down into those parts, and then I go look at the tools that I think are associated with each of those, because it is a stack. I mean, the whole purpose of this title, I think, is that there are tools that have to work together to build that story. And so we're looking at each section. So this month, maybe we're looking at tools that help automate answering complaints. We tested that for several months last year. Didn't work as well as we'd hoped, but the reality was it was completely embedded with AI, and we were trying really hard to make sure we could figure out how to do that efficiently. So that to me is the way we do it. We break it down into component parts, then we find the tools that can potentially make use of AI within those, and then that's where we move forward. And there's some really neat things on the horizon, I think. And I think it's all positive. It's just a matter of corralling it and making sure we know what's available.
Sarah, we'll go to you.
Sure. So, I agree. There are a lot of really cool things on the horizon. I think we are at the start of the new generative AI enabled legal workflows, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But so for us, we have a core group of team members that review and scope out sort of new solutions that claim to enhance the legal workflow using generative AI. I think that we're still at the beginning, we're at the start, and I think what a lot of the different vendors are trying to do is sort of slap, a generative AI chatbot over all of their features. And I think that's where they started, right? Playing around with it just to see what this sort of thing would do. And I think now we'll see really honed, specific, targeted use cases within each of the solutions that the vendors, are supporting and that they're really good at. And I think that's the smart thing to do, right? Really take it and take the models and apply them where they make sense for your solution, because I think at some point this technology will really be embedded in most digital solutions. And I think the one place that I could say that I see a lot of promise, and I sort of saw this even before the announcement of GPT on the scene, but eDiscovery specifically, which was already using some forms of machine learning and AI to really prioritize and speed up review. I think that is an area that will really benefit from generative AI. I know we're testing and playing around with a lot of solutions on the market and available today that incorporate generative AI and do it really well, and use the advanced large language models to really cut down on the time it takes to review documents. And so that I think is a great area, because that's the sort of thing where we have so much media built up because of this digital environment that it's really hard for a human team to really keep up with the pace of where content's being generated. And so we can sort of fight tech with tech. I think that's a really good place to start.
And I'll say, this is a super interesting and exciting time. Seeing some really cool stuff out there, really cool demos. I'm coming at it with an eye toward total practicality. Generative AI is kind of sexy, and we're seeing, sort of people obsessed with using it. We're going to want to use it when it's practical, when it really works. And so, we're going to really be fully vetting everything. To the vendors out there, make it easy for us to pilot your tools. To the vendors out there, charging for piloting is really difficult. Our favorite vendors have partnered with us from the beginning. And so, we're really looking forward to working with all the exciting new AI tech out there, but we're going to be really practical about it, and we're going to, vet everything to the end. There are a lot of security issues, and we're going to need to pilot the tools.
Awesome. Well, that was tons of information. We've gotten in the session today. Thank you so much for your time, Melissa, Daniel, Sarah. Thanks for your expertise, and I'm sure the audience is going to enjoy this. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.